Hi, I am with Charlene Finnegan of Fairway Independent Mortgage, and I am excited to introduce her to you today because she has so much to talk about in this crazy real estate market. I'm Leigh-Anne Vaughn with Pearson Smith Realty, and I want to introduce you to my very good friend, Charlene. Hi, Charlene.
Hi, Leigh-Anne.
Thanks for being here. So we've done this before, but the real estate market is ever changing. We always have something to talk about, and I want to bring you to my friends once again. So Charlene is with Fairway Independent Mortgage, and you have been in the mortgage industry for how long?
At least 25 years.
25 years. Counting money.
Yeah.
Numbers, trying to help buyers navigate through the real estate market, right? And there are a lot of ups and downs.
There definitely are a lot of ups and downs.
Okay. And I know I've asked you this before, but these folks might not know. What got you into the mortgage industry?
I happened upon a job. It was a family friend, knew someone who was looking for an entry level in the mortgage industry, and I was going to college. I went ahead and went in and interviewed and got the job as a receptionist, and they immediately were like, "Oh, you should be a processor." So I processed, then I was a closer. I went to work for a title company for a while, so I worked for a title company for about 7 or 8 years. And then I went back to the mortgage business, and I managed the construction perm department for a bank, and I did that for about 8 years, so I have some construction background too. And then I moved over to being a loan officer.
Wow, so almost 25 years though, as a loan officer.
I've been a loan officer for 18 years.
For 18 years. It's still a long time. That's a lot of experience. There are a lot of challenges when you're helping buyers. You help first-time home buyers.
A lot.
You help a lot of veterans with the VA loan,
Yes.
which is well-deserved, right?
Absolutely.
What is your biggest challenge, not just in this market, but in any market, but I'm sure right now especially, what's your biggest challenge with buyers and not getting them qualified, but getting them from point A to point B to actually writing a contract?
Getting to the point where, writing the contract's not necessarily the problem in this market. The problem in this market has been getting their offers accepted because there's so many offers being made on the same house because inventory is so low.
So would your recommendation to those buyers be start saving your cash?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, because first-time home buyers, that's a big problem with them. You know, previous markets, you could have the seller help a little bit with your closing costs. You don't have that in this market. So even if they can do 100% financing, as some of the programs allow, you know, the VA program or even the Virginia Housing Program, they still have to come up with some cash for their down payment or for their closing costs and prepaids.
Right.
So saving that money is really important right now because the seller's not going to help. Sometimes you can go to mom or dad,
get a gift, right?
But that's not always an option.
So to get a gift, what does that require? Does it require a letter? Does it require statements from the gift giver?
It's similar but a little bit different with different programs. It depends on what program as to what's required, but in general, we're going to need a gift letter from the donor, and it needs to be a relative, is general rule of thumb.
And who qualifies as a relative?
A relative is technically mom, dad, grandparents, niece, nephew, aunts and uncles.
Not cousins.
And siblings. It could be a cousin.
Okay. All right, and then is there a max allowed for gifts?
On most no, there's not a max that's allowed.
Okay, awesome, very good. So I've helped a lot of buyers that were able to get to closing because of receiving of gifts, right? And it definitely helps first-time home buyers. But we were talking about cash, and the reason I bring that up is because they might have their closing costs, right? They might have the outside of what do you call it? Paid outside of closing fees, like your appraisal, your prepaids, right? And then they have to provide their earnest money deposit, which at the bare minimum is 1% of the sale price. But in this market, if a home doesn't appraise, somebody has to cover that gap.
Exactly.
Right? So a first-time home buyer might not have the cash to cover that gap between list price and sale price.
Exactly.
If it appraises for list price, but not the escalated sale price, somebody has to cover that. And in this market, that is expected 9 times out of 10 to be the buyer.
It is.
So save your cash.
Yeah, we have to have that conversation with them up front.
Right.
If the appraisal comes in low, do you have some money or a way to come up with some money?
Right.
Maybe they have a 401k that they could borrow against.
Right.
We always have to have a plan B just in case.
Right, and having that conversation in advance, providing that education is key, right?
It definitely is.
Because we don't want any surprises.
Exactly. I mean,
right.
Hey, can we pre-approve someone on the spot on a Saturday afternoon? Yes, absolutely. Is that preference? No. I would really rather have all of their documents, get them completely pre-approved through underwriting, and then we have all that behind us.
Right.
The loan is approved. They can go out shopping for their house and they know they're ready.
Right, and as a real estate agent, I like that. I like that when you do all that, because when I take a buyer out, I know that I can, without a doubt, sell these buyers to that seller or that listing agent. So I appreciate that you like doing all that process. So when somebody comes to you, if I make a referral to you, what is the very first thing that buyer needs to do?
They need to have a conversation with me. That's the first thing. I really like to get on the phone with them or in person and talk through, what they're comfortable with. That's what's most important, because sometimes I can have them complete the application online because they're going to need to do that so that, I can pull their credit. I'll have them send in copies of their, bank statements, W-2s, their pay stubs. But I get a lot more out of that conversation.
Right, because you get to the root of, somebody may qualify for 450, but maybe they're only comfortable with 375.
Exactly, because we don't know what their plans are. Maybe they're planning on having a child in the next year. You know? So the computer says they qualify for, that might not be their comfort zone. So I always need to ask that.
And that's important too, because as a real estate agent, when I list a property and we have multiple offers, I'm looking at these approval letters, and I know the difference, as do most experienced realtors, between a letter that was provided after a conversation and a letter that was done online by, I call 1-800-WHO, right? Because there really was no interaction with a person. So they may qualify for this very high amount, but that's not the case. And so it's my job to protect the seller, to know that we're going to get to closing.
Exactly.
So when a letter comes from you, I know without a doubt we're going to go to closing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So so that's a little bit about first-time home buyers and buying in general. But what's the number one question that you get asked all the time?
What is my payment going to be?
What's your payment going to be, and what is that dependent on?
Well, that depends on the price of the house, how much they're going to put down, what the interest rate is, and that's changing consistently right now.
Right. And so what do you do when somebody says, what are your rates?
Well, it depends.
Also dependent.
It's just like asking what is the temperature in the United States. It depends.
Right.
It depends on their credit score. It depends on, again, their down payment, what type of property it is. A lot of times people don't realize the rate might be a little bit higher on a condo than a single family detached house. So I have to have those conversations with people.
Right.
You have to have you can't just say the rate is, because
it doesn't apply to everyone.
Exactly.
It's not one size fits all. So it's important to know that when you think you're shopping lenders or you're shopping rates, that you may actually, it might not be apples to apples, right? So one lender may say it's this rate, another lender say it's this rate, but maybe this rate is costing you money, right? You're paying for that rate. And in addition to that, the rates differ based on your individual circumstances.
Exactly.
Right. That's so important to know.
And I have that a lot of times. They'll be like, oh, well, I looked online and I saw the rate was, 5%, but you told me 5.25%. And it's like, well, yeah, but again, did you tell them how much you were putting down, what your credit score was, what the property type was? If you just, are just looking online at rates, you're not going to know what it truly is.
You got to do a deeper dive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to have all the facts.
Exactly. All the facts. That's what's important. Information is key, right? And it's free. Information's free. So share it. Have you had any issues in this current market with, VA loans? Have you been able to process very many VA loans? Has it been a challenge?
No, we do a lot of VA loans. Actually, we're one of the largest VA lenders in the country. And no, we have not had any problems with our VA loans.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a benefit that I think all veterans should be able to use, and I think sellers need to be more open to that. And I think a lot of times it's not understanding what the VA process is.
It is, and I do hear that sometimes. A lot of times, if you've got maybe a seller and it hasn't been explained to them, if they've got, contract offers, and they'll be like, oh, I've heard not to take the VA contract. And it's very upsetting to me when I hear that, because, it's like there's nothing wrong with the VA borrower. They're always concerned that, they're going to be too strict on the appraisal. And they're not. They're looking for your normal safety items.
Right.
If it's missing a railing, something that's definitely a safety issue. They're going to point that out and want that fixed. But most people's homes don't have those problems.
Sure. Right. So it's not really a risk.
It's not.
It's a good buyer like any other.
Absolutely.
Right. And a good benefit. And we should reward them for that.
Absolutely, we should.
Yeah. So on that note, VA, I know I've asked you this before, and I just think it's the coolest thing. What's the program that you participate in?
We have a program called AWI. It's American Warrior Initiative, and it's started by a Fairway employee, and it's our way of giving back to veterans. And actually, we were able to give away, I believe it was 21 service dogs last year to veterans.
That's huge. That gives me goosebumps.
Huge. Oh, it gives me goosebumps every time. You should be there in person one time when we do it in person. It is such an amazing experience, and but we do different things in the different offices. Fairway nationwide, we do this to raise money so that we can do that. And one of the things we do is we wear red shirts on Friday. You've probably seen me on Friday.
I have a red shirt.
Yep.
I actually got it at a Fairway Independent Mortgage event with Sean Parnell.
Okay, awesome. So you happen to one.
Yes.
And Red Friday is for Remember Everyone Deployed, and we sell those shirts. When we were in the office, everybody's pretty much working from home now, but we would pay $1 every Friday to wear a red shirt and jeans, and that was our.
And then, do you know? And if you don't know, it's okay because it's probably a big number. Do you know how much money has been raised with that program?
I do not know.
Okay,
that's something I can get back to you on, though. But it is a lot because we've been doing it for a long time, and it's such an amazing program. Right.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal, and the fact that Fairway Independent Mortgage does so much for our veterans, the AWI. Program, I just think that's so cool. And the service dogs, I mean, oh my gosh, literally gives me goosebumps.
It does. I mean, I've been able to be at events where we were able to give a service dog. We did that a couple years ago. We were able to give another veteran, a local veteran, a car, that he needed a car, and we were able to provide him with a car, and that came from this branch. So
that's pretty cool.
It was really cool.
Has to be really gratifying.
It is. It's so awesome, and they're so appreciative, and they never know. That's what's so exciting.
That's the big thing.
It's always a secret. They have no idea.
Right. So that kind of segues into what I wanted to ask you about, because I know you, so I know how you work, and I know how you interact with your customers and with your peers and people like me, realtors, and you help work with a lot of realtors and customers. What is most important to you when performing your job? If I were to, I could answer that for you, but I want to know what you think or where you're coming from. Like, what are you looking for in an ideal client, an ideal partner relationship?
Are you meaning not a borrower with borrowers?
Borrower or a partner like myself.
I just want to be there to help people. I
could have answered that.
I want to see people get in homes. That is, settlement day is a celebration.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter how many settlements I go to, because I like to go to my settlements. Again, that's been restricted a little bit because of COVID. Some of the settlement offices don't want us in there, but when I can go, I go, because there is nothing more exciting than to see someone get the keys to their home.
And like you said, you could have done this for 18 years, like you have. And everyone is a celebration.
Everyone is a celebration. It's so exciting.
Yeah, so for you, it's the relationship. It's seeing that person accomplish their real estate goals or their housing goals, right?
Yep. Because it's a dream for most people.
It is a dream.
And it doesn't matter if it's the first house or the 5th house. It's just as exciting.
Right. Have you ever had like a first-time home buyer that it was such a struggle and a stretch to get them to the closing table, but you were able to pull it off?
I did. I had one, and this was years ago. I had spent about probably 9 months helping this client get his credit scores up. And we had been working on it. He had gotten his credit scores up. There was going to be closing in the month of December. We always have to, as you know, there's a credit refresh that's always done before closing. His score dropped like the week of closing. His fiance was like an authorized user on one of his cards and had gone out Christmas shopping.
Do not go Christmas
Do not
shopping.
go Christmas
if you buy
shopping.
a house. Okay.
Yes, we tell people that. You can go to the grocery store, you cannot go to Costco.
Right. You can put gas in the car if you have a car. If you don't, do not go buy a car.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so his score dropped a lot. So I had to, there's a system we can use to try to see what they can do to improve their credit scores.
So that's what I was getting at.
Yes.
Yes.
We got I had him, he was able to pay down a card. We had to do, a credit rescore quickly. I'm talking within a week to get his score back up to where it needed to be, and he did. He closed and he was in that house by Christmas time.
That's exciting.
It was very exciting.
Right.
And very stressful.
Yes. So you've actually helped a couple of my clients, and many others, I'm sure, repair their credit.
Oh, absolutely.
So tell me briefly a little bit about that program that you do.
I mean, because I've been doing it for so long, I usually know or have a good idea if it, what someone can do to improve their credit scores a little bit. But here at Fairway, we have a department that's all that they do. So they can run it through the scoring system. We can give them the credit report. They can run it through, and they can tell them, very precisely. They'll give them a plan. Pay this credit card down. $500. Open a new account. Pay this off. They'll give them a plan and tell them exactly how long it's going to take to gain, like maybe 20 points, maybe 50 points, maybe even 100 points. And
which also affects your interest rate.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yes.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll do that. I'll have someone, they may qualify, but I know that they're not in a hurry. And I'm like, okay, you're not in a hurry. You're at a 680 right now, but if we can get you to, a 700 or a 720, that's going to really improve your interest rate. We've got the time, let's do it. And I'll run them through the system and we'll get their scores up.
But that's huge.
It is
that's huge because I think that most people don't even know that that's a program that's available to them, number one. And number two, they don't understand that it doesn't need to take 5 years to prepare, right? It just depends on your individual situation. And when someone comes to me and they say, I want to purchase a home, my credit's not that great, I don't have a lot of savings, I send them to you immediately. It's the first thing I do, right? It's not that I can't counsel them, but I do believe stay in your lane.
Exactly.
And I believe that that's your area of expertise, and I know that you provide that service for so many people. So that's what I'm going to do. I just send them to you, and you've helped several. For me personally, get into a home, and I think it's a big deal, and it's a day of celebration. Like
and we don't charge for that. That's
also huge.
If they don't use me, fine, but we'll still help them get their credit score up.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really big deal. So there's so many lenders out there, so many mortgage companies, and there's so many loan officers. I have my favorites. But why would somebody come to Charlene? Why would somebody come to Fairway Independent Mortgage?
Me personally, I think because I'm there to answer their questions. And like I said, I pick up the phone. I want to talk to them. I want to have conversations. I want to know what's important to them so that I can help them get to this goal. Because buying a house is one of the most important financial decisions someone can ever make.
And scary.
It's very scary. So I want to make sure that they understand what their payment is, that they understand what it's going to cost at the closing table. I just want to make sure that they are completely prepared. So when they sign those papers and they go to make their first payment, 2 months down the road, it wasn't a shock to them. They were completely prepared and understood everything. And when they call me, at nighttime, I'm going to answer my phone, and I'm there for them to make sure that they're comfortable with everything.
So we were talking about that earlier. Our job is not 9 to 5.
No, it's not 9 to 5.
I know many people do it 9 to 5, but we are really 24/7.
We are.
And what someone else may see as an emergency, we need to respect that, right? We need to not dismiss that moment of anxiety when someone's purchasing a home. So I think it's really important to be available.
It is.
And for me as a real estate agent, I love that if I need an approval letter from you on a Saturday at 4 o'clock, that you're going to provide it.
Absolutely.
And I know that you have a life. We do have a life. And but the reality is it's communication. It's communication between us. It's communication between us and our client. And, that's really what gets the job done. It's a team effort. And I think that really does take me to answering my own question is why would somebody use Fairway Independent Mortgage?
Well, yeah, Fairway it's an awesome company. Everyone at Fairway processor, closer, no matter who, we all have the same goal. It's to get people to the closing table.
It's a team
And
effort.
It really is a team effort here. I mean, our operations staff, I would put them up against anybody's. They're awesome. I mean, most of our processors, you know, could be underwriters easily if they wanted to be. Some of them have been underwriters.
Right.
And they like processing. They like being on the phone with the client, and they're just awesome. They're the best.
Our job's kind of fun.
Oh yeah, it is fun.
Yeah, and it's pretty rewarding.
It is. It's always very rewarding.
Yeah, but it takes both of us.
It does.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Charlene. I 100% appreciate you being here, and I love that I can once again share you with all my friends. Charlene Finnegan with Fairway Independent Mortgage.